Welcome to Kings Spotlight, and today we are once again joined by Kings head football coach Jeff Knarr. Coach, thanks for being with us again this week.
Thanks for having me.
Coach, this week marks the beginning of a tough stretch of games for Kings as we host MAC co-leader Delaware Valley College on Saturday at 1 p.m. at McCarthy Stadium. But before we get to that game, let's touch briefly on last week's game, a 30-24 double overtime loss at Albright. That was a game where we can easily make the argument that it got away from us. We outgained Albright 443 yards to 322 yards in total offense and more than doubled their time of possession. Obviously, to own significant advantages in those areas, we had to do some very good things on the field. But we lost out on some key scoring chances, and some timely penalties also factored in. So that has to be very frustrating for the coaching staff and the players.
Yeah, it was a tough loss because you look at it. We had our opportunities to win the game in regulation and not get to overtime. So we focused on the things that we did well because, again, Albright's a very good program with a lot of success. I mean, we felt from running the football that was the best we did this year, maybe the best ever for against the quality of opponent we were playing. The run for 255 yards and 5.5 yards a carry was outstanding, and completing like 65% of our passes. Our defense had 3 takeaways, 6 tackles for a loss, breaking up passes, playing a dominant, physical type of defense. But basically, our unraveling was penalties. We had 11 of them, for averaging 11.5 yards. We got to clean those up, and they ran from, getting, letting our emotions get the best of us and getting a 15-yard there to, not, moving when the, other guy's in motion, those little things. And they all add up to, 11.5 yards. That's a first down we're losing, or we're giving them, an extra first down, with those yards. And that's hard to overcome when you play a good team like Albright or any team, and really.
Looking ahead to this week's game with Delaware Valley, it is the start of a very challenging stretch of games for Kings. Del Val is 7-0 overall and 6-0 in the MAC, and is ranked 18th and 21st nationally in the top 2 Division III national polls. Del Val is a very talented team and a successful program that has been a top contender in the MAC for a number of years now. You have been at Kings for 5 years now, Coach, so talk about what you see as the trademarks of the Delaware Valley program as a team.
I mean, they're one, very athletic. They have athletes. They run well. They're physical. Good-looking football players that that play the game really, really well. When we first got here, and I think part of their run, their defense was just dominant. From there, and now they still have a very good, solid defense. A lot of young guys that are getting better. But right now they have older guys on offense, and what you're seeing is some seniors on the offense playing at a very, very high level, who have been all conference type players leading into this year from that standpoint with their passing game and their running game. I mean, they're putting up a huge lot of yards and points. So they just they get good athletes, and they do a good job of maintaining them and developing them, and that's why they've had the success they've been able to have.
Well, speaking of the Aggie offense, they're leading the MAC in scoring at 46.7 points per game, but they're also leading the conference in total offense, averaging 516.7 yards per game. As you said, they have a lot of athletes and a lot of weapons, most notably their senior quarterback, Aaron Wilmer, and their senior wide receiver, Rasheed Bailey. Let's talk about them individually. First, we have Aaron Wilmer. He's having an All-American caliber season at quarterback, completing 65% of his passes for over 2,000 yards, but he's also extremely dangerous with his feet.
Yeah, I mean, he's a great athlete. I mean, he's a kid that, was a Division II caliber, player, found a home and a lot of success here at Del Val. And again, he can, hurt you running the ball because, I mean, he's, a physical, size of a quarterback, good size. And then he throws the ball, real well. He throws it on time, and he's very accurate. But he also can sense, pressure, has good pocket presence, and can hurt you with his feet. And he's only, he's been dynamic since he's got here, and every year he's getting better and better. And like you said, as a senior, he is being, putting up All-American, quality, numbers in production.
And speaking of All-American quality numbers, we have Rasheed Bailey, their senior wide receiver, who's having a spectacular season in his own right. He's caught 51 passes and leads the nation with 1,195 yards, and has also scored 13 touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, he, last year, he's always been a big play guy, but the thing you saw a little bit with him the last couple of years is once in a while he'd have a drop or drop some things, and this year he's catching everything. I mean, he's making, great catches with people on there, running by people. I mean, he's a big target, runs good routes, and he's just put it all together, and he's having a tremendous, senior season. So now they have a go-to guy that they can trust, that they can throw the ball to him, and he's coming down with it, every time.
After Wilmer and Bailey, Delaware Valley doesn't stop there offensively. Their senior tailback, Chris Smallwood, who was rushed for 921 yards and also caught 18 passes out of the backfield for an additional 193 yards. Then there's junior receiver Bobby Martorella, who has 12 catches for 188 yards. Sophomore receiver Tyler Bing with 12 catches for 118 yards. And sophomore tight end Stephen Greco, who has 9 catches for 249 yards, averaging 27.7 yards per catch. How do you slow down an offense with this much weaponry?
That's a good question. The key is, trying to give them the big play. I mean, our kids ought to understand they're going to get their yards. What we have to do is not get big play. You look at, some of their games, they have 1-play drives, 3-play drives, and it's not necessarily a big pass over the middle, but they've hit some big runs. I mean, their running back, again, is a, all conference, all region, type of a kid who's been productive. And then, what happens is you put your emphasis on, those guys, and then, their tight end, who's 27 yards a catch, he hits you for a big play because everything's about the other guys. So they have good complementary weapons to their, top caliber players. So our kids got to, again, play within the scheme, play the call that's there, and then, know they're going to get their yards, but not give up the big play, the easy play, because, it's going to be a big challenge and a great opportunity for our kids on defense from there. Don't give them anything easy. Make them earn, everything that they get.
Defensively, the Aggies have not been quite as stout as they've been in the past, as they've allowed an average of 26 points per game. But the last 2 weeks, they seem like they have really started to gel at the right time and have only allowed 10 points per game the last 2 weeks. Delaware Valley has a new defensive coordinator in Corey David, who just so happened to be your defensive coordinator at Kings last year. So going into a game like this, do you focus at all on what Corey may know about your offense and how to counteract his knowledge of our personnel?
A little bit, but I mean, I think that's minimized because we're playing them at the 8th week of the season. Because everyone, your identity, maybe what you thought you were going to be, in the spring, and then what you are now, week 8, could be different. And he's got enough film of us this year to know what our identity is. Eventually he knows the personality and some of the traits of our kids, from that standpoint. But overall, I mean, their defense, they're talented kids and they were young, and now it's they're, like you said, they're hitting their stride. At the midpoint of the season, towards the end of the season, and playing very well as they're starting to understand their scheme and things from there. So it's a good opportunity for our kids because I think offensively, we're kind of hit our stride a little bit, especially in our run game, and that'll be key for us on Saturday to continue to build on the success we've had the last 2 weeks of running the football and then hopefully finishing drives and limiting our penalties.
Well, as you said earlier, last week was a good day running the ball for King, so it has to have felt especially rewarding to see senior tailback Kyle McGrath rush for a season-high 126 yards, while the team as a whole finished with 255 yards on the ground. Going into this game, just how important will it be in the running game?
It'll be huge because then if we can, run, and you run the ball, it helps open up everything else, makes everything a little bit easier. And then again, one of the other ways, the combat, their high-powered, quick strike, offense is that they're standing on the sidelines. So, if we can be on the field and move the football, you need balance to do that, then that's going to help our defense out as well. So we got to be able to, to run the football, and then that'll put them hopefully different things and help open up opportunities for us, in the passing game, which has been solid there. I mean, Tyler's, hitting his stride and doing a great job of being over 60% the last few games, and he's made great decisions whether to run, or throw and not turn the ball over. So, we're doing good things offensively, and then it's just a matter of, staying on schedule, not getting sidetracked with penalties, and then finishing drives with points.
Speaking of Tyler, he has really done a great job this year running the ball. He has not been a quarterback who has done a lot of running in the past, but this year he seems to have really found a higher level of confidence and effectiveness as well.
Yeah, what he's done is, being a third-year guy and he, in here watching film and studying the game, is just that's the progression that he's taken to his game to the next level. That when he's in the pocket, we always talk about don't make bad plays worse. So if he can't see things, he's not quite sure. You don't need to have that gunslinger mentality and just sling it in there and hope. You get it through that little window. He understands that, and he knows there's escape routes within the protection, and so his decisiveness has been outstanding. He's not indecisive at all. He knows whether or not he can step up, and I can see it's going to be open, I'm going to throw it, or he knows, hey, I need to step up. It looks cloudy, it's covered, I'm not sure, and boom, he takes off running. And that's helped him, tremendously, because he's not hemming and hawing back there, because he's not the most elusive, most the fast guy, but he makes his mind up. He makes up 100%, and off he goes. And then he's athletic enough and good enough to be very productive in the run game for what we've had in the past with him. So that's been a huge asset this year.
Well, as you prepare to attack the Aggie defense this weekend, we did talk about the difference in points allowed earlier in the season as compared to now. Are there any noticeable differences from what they've done earlier in the season compared to how they're playing now?
Yeah, I think their coverages, they're a little tighter. Guys were getting behind them a little bit and got some big plays from there, and guys are playing their blocks and getting their gaps better. There was some mistakes that way. From that standpoint, so they're just understanding the scheme and what's expected of them and where they're supposed to be, and I think guys are doing that better for them, so they're starting to play better defense.
Coach, last year your team went down to Delaware Valley and pulled off a big upset. This week Del Val comes here. So what will it take for your squad to walk off the field with a win on Saturday?
The first thing, anytime you're going to knock off a nationally ranked team, is you can't beat yourself. So we can't have the penalties and the mistakes from there. Because they're going to make their plays, and hopefully we'll make plays, and then we'll make mistakes. They'll make mistakes, and then we can't add to that by adding a huge amount of penalties and penalty yards from the upset from that deal. So defensively, we can't give up a big play. Make them earn it, and then work hard to get off the field and take advantage of every opportunity to create turnovers if we can. And then offensively, be able to put drives together to keep their offense off the field, and then be able to finish and put points on, and have the kick game, help with field position to benefit our offense and put our defense in good positions to start with from that deal. And then the key is from the experience. Our kids have played these guys, know how good they are, and know that they what it took to get a win last year, and rely on that experience. And how that happened last year, to use that, this year when they take the field, that, they know they can get it done. Just going to take a great game, by everybody in our program.
Well, Coach, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you for joining us again this week, and good luck to you and the Monarchs on Saturday when Kings host Delaware Valley at 1 p.m. at McCarthy Stadium.
Thank you.